We have all felt those days where every light is green. The right person calls at the exact moment you think of them. Doors open before you even reach for the handle. But we also know the opposite. The days where every step feels like wading through deep water. You might dismiss these moments as luck or timing. Yet, have you ever noticed how a single, tiny choice seems to alter the entire texture of your afternoon? It is as if you stepped onto a different track entirely. Most of us believe we are moving through one solid world, waiting for things to happen to us. The reality is far more restless. You aren't just living in a world, you are constantly navigating a hidden map of infinite versions of it. We often treat these shifts in our day as random spikes in our internal chemistry. When life feels heavy and every task presents a new obstacle, we tell ourselves we are simply having a bad run. When the opposite happens, when every conversation is perfect and every timing is precise, we call it a lucky streak. But something strange happens when we look closer at these patterns. These moments of flow or friction are rarely about what is happening outside of us. They are signals of a much deeper movement. You may have overlooked how often a sudden change in your internal state immediately precedes a change in your external circumstances. This pattern appears more often than we realize, suggesting that we aren't just moving through a fixed environment.
We are traversing a landscape that is far more fluid than it appears. Why do these shifts happen so suddenly? Why does the flow vanish just as quickly as it arrives? Watch closely, because the mechanism behind this is far simpler than most people imagine. We usually give these moments casual names. We call them good days or on a roll. But have you ever noticed how these streaks of luck seem to cluster together? In these windows of time, the right information finds you. People you haven't spoken to in years suddenly reach out. Even the physical world seems to cooperate, as if the gear teeth of reality have finally clicked into place. Then, without warning, the rhythm breaks. You find yourself pushing against a world that was just assisting you moments ago. This is where the pattern becomes clear. It isn't that the world has changed its mind about you. It is that the very texture of your experience has shifted. The repetition suggests something deeper than mere coincidence. These aren't isolated events. They are symptoms of a hidden consistency. Most of us overlook this because we are too busy reacting to the change. We fail to see that these shifts in flow and friction follow a specific, mathematical precision. It is as if we are moving through different versions of the same room, each with its own set of rules. This is where the experience begins to make sense. We have been taught to view life as a series of events that happen to us in a linear sequence.
We believe we are building the future piece by piece, but the teaching reveals something far more profound. Every possible version of your life already exists. Every outcome, every choice, and every potential path is already here, present in this very moment. They are not waiting to be created, they are waiting to be perceived. This reveals something important about how reality works. Those moments of flow you experienced weren't just good timing. They were moments where you successfully aligned with a specific version of reality that was already functioning perfectly. Suddenly, the pattern becomes easier to understand. You are not a traveler walking down a long road. You are a receiver, much like a radio, tuning in to different frequencies. The teaching is simpler than most people expect. You don't have to build the reality you want. You only have to select it. But this raises a deeper question. How exactly do we change the channel? This mechanism has been operating in your life the entire time, even if you never noticed it. To understand how it works, think of a film projector. On the reel, every frame is a complete static picture. The film doesn't actually move or change. The projector simply flashes individual stationary images in rapid succession to create the illusion of motion. Reality functions in the exact same way. Each parallel reality is a static frame that already exists.
You are not changing your world. You are shifting your point of view from one frame to the next. This is the hidden rule behind the experience. Your internal state, your beliefs, your mood, and your excitement acts as the frequency coordinator. When you follow your excitement, you are essentially tuning your receiver to a specific set of frames where things naturally flow.
When you feel resistance, you haven't failed. You have simply tuned into a sequence of frames defined by friction. This explains why the pattern behaves this way. The flow isn't something you earn, it is a coordinate you select. Suddenly, the shift begins to make sense. You aren't pushing against a solid world. You are simply clicking through different versions of it, 1/1000th of a second at a time. If the mechanism is so simple, why do we find it so difficult to trust? This is where many of us lose the signal. The moment an impulse of excitement arrives, the analytical mind begins to intervene. It starts to ask for proof. It demands a guarantee of the outcome before it allows you to move. We have been conditioned to believe that life must be hard to be meaningful, and that struggle is a sign of productivity. Because of this, most people mistake the obstacle for wisdom. We confuse caution with intelligence and interpret our fear as logic. This is the moment the inner voice begins to argue, suggesting that following a feeling is irresponsible or unrealistic.
And suddenly, the excitement is replaced by doubt. How often do we talk ourselves out of something that felt exactly right? By choosing the safe path, we inadvertently tune back into the frequency of stagnation. We disconnect from the flow, not because the world stopped providing it, but because we stopped choosing it. If you have ever felt this signal and ignored it, I am curious to hear what that internal conversation sounded like for you. Shifting your reality does not require a dramatic leap. It begins with a simple navigation method that you can test today. First, look at the options available to you right now and notice which one carries even a trace more excitement than the others. It doesn't have to be a life-changing career move. It could be as simple as a book you want to read or a walk you feel like taking. The second step is to act on that excitement to the best of your ability, taking it as far as it can naturally go until you can go no further. This is where the navigation begins. By choosing the path of excitement, you are effectively clicking into the frequency of the reality where things flow. However, there is a vital third step. You must release all attachment to what the outcome should look like. The formula works best when followed with curiosity rather than pressure. If you force a specific result, you are actually tuning back into the frequency of control and resistance. Simply repeat this process with the next available option.
This is how the signal becomes action, and how the shift in your timeline actually starts. If this perspective resonates with you, consider subscribing as we continue to explore how consciousness and reality interact. The change rarely starts with something dramatic. It usually begins with a quiet curiosity that you might have previously dismissed as a distraction. You may have already experienced similar moments without realizing their significance, perhaps labeling them as lucky detours. Consider the experience of suddenly feeling the urge to visit a specific coffee shop you rarely frequent. Instead of ignoring the impulse in favor of your usual routine, you decide to follow the signal. While waiting in line, you overhear a conversation that provides the exact piece of information you had been searching for all week. This is often how the shift begins. By acting on that minor spark of excitement, you moved yourself into a version of the day where that information was available to you. The small decision to change your route was actually a change in your frequency. How many times has a small decision changed the entire direction of your day? These synchronicities aren't rewards for good behavior. They are the natural landmarks of the reality you have just tuned into. The signal appears in ordinary moments, waiting for you to recognize that a single, simple action is all it takes to step onto a different track. This changes the way we understand the experience of being alive. We have spent our lives trying to move forward, yet this suggests that we are actually moving inward. If every version of your life already exists as a static coordinate, then the journey is not about reaching a destination. It is about the frequency of the traveler. Suddenly, the pattern reveals a deeper meaning. Your excitement is not just a passing emotion or a biological response to pleasure. It is the language of a guidance system designed to help you navigate an infinite field of possibilities. This suggests something remarkable about the nature of reality. You are not a victim of circumstances, nor are you a builder working against a resistant world. You are an explorer, selecting which version of yourself to embody in each moment. Could these signals be guiding us towards versions of ourselves we have not yet explored? You may already be standing at the threshold of this realization in your own life.
noticing how the old ways of pushing and forcing no longer feel right. The life you seek is not a place you are going, it is a state of being you are tuning into. Perhaps the signal has been there all along, hiding in the moments you once called ordinary. The pattern of flow and resistance you've observed is not a random occurrence, but a constant dialogue between your internal state and the world around you. As you move back into your day, you may begin to notice something new.
A subtle impulse that was previously silent may suddenly become clear. A small curiosity might carry a weight you hadn't noticed before. Sometimes the shift begins simply by noticing. You do not need to hunt for parallel realities. You only need to recognize the one you are currently selecting. How often have these signals appeared quietly in your life, waiting for you to listen? The journey of awareness is just beginning, and the next chapter reveals what happens when you consistently follow this signal into the unknown.